make me feel lots of pain I never felt before. Just like when I slam my pinky finger in the car door. Like a paper cut and someone poured on salt and vinegar. And on top of that, the previously aforementioned little finger.
So, over the last week or so, I have been listening to and studying a whole bunch of BoyWithUke music. Today, we are going to write and record a song in the style of BoyWithUke, completely from scratch. Most of BoyWithUke songs seem to be between 2 and 3 minutes long. 2.5 minutes is the average length, so we're going to keep our song nice and short. Almost all of his songs seem to start with a minor chord. Now, major chords are happy, but minor chords are sad. So I think at the end of this one, we're going to have a pretty melancholy tune. So many swears. BoyWithUke uses lots and lots of modern words that old people like me basically don't really understand. So I think I'm going to have to use Urban Dictionary. One thing I have noticed watching his interviews and listening closely to the lyrics is that he seems to be seriously depressed, shy, especially about girls. But he always seems to talk about how much pain he's physically in and how he genuinely seems to be hurting from his latest relationship. He also talks a lot about boredom and sleep and therapy and medication. Seriously, I hope he's okay. On the music theory side, I've noticed that BoyWithUke has a tendency to use chords 1, 3, 6, and 7. Now, if you don't know what that means, basically in poppy pop music, people tend to stick to chords 1, 4, 5, and 6. So in C, that would be C, F, G, and A minor. But if we use chords 1, 3, 6, and 7, like I think BoyWithUke would use, that gives us C, E minor, A minor, and B. Now, as I said just now, most of his songs do start with minor chords, so I've just chosen to start my song with the chord of E minor. That would give me the chords of E minor, G, C, and D to play around with. BoyWithUke is clearly a big fan of 21 Pilots, to the extent that a lot of people thought that he might be Tyler Joseph in disguise, though I'm pretty sure that that isn't the case. Nonetheless, that clearly influences his musical stylings, which is why he uses a lot of ukulele, modern-sounding drum beats, plinky-plink piano, and I think that he references them in some of his lyrics. For example, in the song Understand, fighting with the demons, hiding far behind my eyelids, on an island of violence in my head, I had 2 pilots, which I like to think is Tyler Joseph and Josh Dunn helping him out. One of the ways that BoyWithUke differentiates the sections in his songs is just basically changing what he does with the chords. Well, he might start a verse playing an arpeggio on the chords and then start strumming in the chorus. For example, Toxic, which goes something like... And then, of course, in the chorus he starts to strum. One of the things that the BoyWithUke is famous for is his rap sections. So I'm going to need to get my MC Hammer on. One thing BoyWithUke often does is whistling, either whistling outright or just whistling in the background as a sort of harmony. Now this might be tough for me as I'm not that great at whistling. How do you whistle? Wet your lips, pucker them, blow air through your lips, relax your tongue. Is that right? I guess I can kind of do it through my teeth. That's the kind of whistling. Hey, if you guys are loving this deep dive into the work of BoyWithUke, why not go ahead and give this video a cheeky little thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a lesson. Just to let you guys know, this video is sponsored by the awesome Vidami Blue foot pedal. With the Vidami Blue, you can control YouTube with your feet. You can skip forwards or backwards, press play and pause, and you can even, and this is the cool part, create a loop so it will play the same bit over and over again. You can even adjust the speed to slow it right down and really master those tricky bits. It has this really cool page turning facility that works with all of your favorite music reading apps, including the Kindle app, which means you can import your own PDFs, and instead of having to stop what you're doing, just turn the page with your feet. The Vidami Blue can control GarageBand. You can go backwards and forwards throughout the project, play and stop. You can press record, and the really cool part, you can duplicate the track to really make sure you don't lose that perfect sound. The Vidami Blue works on Bluetooth, which means it's completely wireless. I've only had mine for a few months, but it's already become something that I use pretty much every day, particularly that awesome YouTube loop function. Click on the link in the video description below and use the coupon code UKETEACHER10 for a sweet 10% discount. to try and get inside the mind of BoyWithUke, I googled what would a shy boy say to a girl, and I found a very helpful page on a website called Quora.com. They gave me lots of great advice. This chap here says, the best way to begin a conversation is to say, "What's the time, please? I think my watch is running slow," as most girls will answer this question. You should then follow this up with a joke to put her at her ease. "I think my watch is on too tight, haha." Okay. Another guy here says that it's largely a numbers game, but that we shouldn't give up because even a blind squirrel finds a nut sometimes. There's poetry there. Joe says we should start by making an observation about our surroundings, and from there I can transition into, "Hi, I'm Joe." And this Joe guy clearly thinks a lot of himself as he says, "Feel free to use my name if it makes you feel more confident." Thank you very much, Joe. If you've got a favourite pop artist that you would like me to do a deep dive on, then let me know right now in the comments below. BoyWithUke is a real DIY artist, so for us, there's no excuse. Literally, all you'll need for this is an iPhone or an iPad with GarageBand, plus, of course, your trusty ukulele. So the first thing we're going to do is open our GarageBand and start a new project. Now, I've decided, like I said, for my one, I want it to be in the key of E minor, and I'm going to have it nice and slow, so I'm setting the tempo to 80 beats per minute. Now, the first thing we're going to do is get a nice beat. Now, I have it on good authority that BoyWithUke uses the Birdland Cuts drum kit on GarageBand. And if you don't have that, go to your sound library and download it now. So from there, we can get a little beat going. To me, that sounds a little bit too clean. So if you want a slightly more dirty sound, then have a fiddle with these knobs at the top of the screen, turn up the drive, and turn down the high cut filter on the right-hand side. So, to record the ukulele, you're going to need to find the microphone and go to Clean under the studio settings. And then, if you can, I would plug in an external microphone. I've just got a little cheap one here that I've had for years. Don't worry, if you don't have one, you can just use the headphones that come with your iPad. And I would record it like this. But we need to bulk it up a bit. So first what we'll do, add a tiny little bit of echo and a tiny little bit of reverb. And then what I like to call the secret of professional recording, we're going to duplicate the track and record the exact same thing again, playing it a second time. What we can do with the second track is pan it a little bit to the right, and that just widens the sound and gives you a bit more ukulele to play with. We'll do the exact same thing with our strumming section. Again, we'll duplicate the track. We'll pan one of them to the right, and now we've got a nice, wide ukulele sound, a bit of reverb, a bit of echo on each track. One more thing I would recommend doing as well, if you listen back, and you can hear it's picking up noise from somewhere else, maybe the other tracks you've recorded, then go to Plugins and EQs, and just turn on the noise gate. Now, as you guys know, I'm not a great singer, and he is, but there are still a few tips and tricks that I can pass on to you to help you get that cool BoyWithUke vocal sound. First things first, we will choose Pop Overdrive. Let me just record one line of vocals for you here. Don't give up. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. But then what we want to do is add another track. But this time for our second vocal track, we'll change it from lead vocals and add telephone. But this time we're going to sing it one octave lower. Don't give up. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. And then we'll duplicate that track. And this time singing one octave higher. Don't give up. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. And so now, all of a sudden, we've gone from one sort of weedy sounding vocal to having 3 vocal tracks all together that sound like this. Don't give up. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. Pan them out left and right to widen that sound if you need to, and all of a sudden the vocals sound an awful lot thicker. As I said earlier on, he's a big fan of 21 Pilots, and that means there's often a little bit of plinky plinky. Now, you might not be the best piano player in the world, I know I'm not, and even if you were, it's pretty hard to play on those tiny iPad or iPhone screens. But don't worry, GarageBand has got a cool feature called Smart Piano. Let's find a new piano sound. I like this one here called Worn Tape Piano. Now, as long as you've set the key to your music correctly, and I've set it to E minor, then it'll give you automatically all the chords that you need. E minor, D, C, and G, and all the other chords that'll sound good in that key as well. And if you want to make it sound even plinkier, turn down the attack and the release keys. Not for Boy with Uke, the traditional electric bass guitar. I think you would use something a little bit more futuristic. I am going to use sequence bass, which is a sort of keyboardy sounding bass guitar. Now I've got a little bass line worked out for this song. It goes something like this. Now again, the secret to make it a bit meatier is to record it twice, and the second time we'll knock it down 1 octave. And play them together. And you've got a nice beefy bass line there. Firstly, double or even triple up, like you did with the main vocals. Go an octave higher, go an octave lower to thicken up your vocals. I use a mixture of the telephone sound and the pop overdrive sound. I add just a tiny bit of reverb and a minuscule bit of echo to each track. My big tip for you for recording the rap section is split the lines up in between different takes, because no matter how good your flow is, some lines just run into each other so much that it's just totally impossible to breathe between them. So just record each half a line onto a different track and then mix them together. That way you'll go from something like this.
The only thing that I was ever good at was making up rhymes, but now I'm scared that even that'll be taken over by AI.
To something a bit more like this.
The only thing that I was ever good at was making up rhymes, but now I'm scared that even that'll be taken over by AI.
And my third top tip for recording your rap sections is to add another track to emphasize your key words. So for example, I really wanted the words adorkable and janky to pop out, but they seem to get a little bit lost in the mix, so I just made a second track here, just yelling those words on their own.
Adorkable, janky.
But if you listen to how that sounds now in the mix,
I thought I was adorkable, you thought I was janky.
then those keywords just pop out a little bit more. One thing you're going to want to do when you've done your keyboardy instruments is tidy up after yourself. So for example, if you see here, some of my piano notes aren't quite on the line. They're not quite on the beat grid. And you hear that some of those notes are really out of time there. You just go to your track settings, go to Quantisation and choose straight 1/16 notes. It just tightens everything up. And now all of a sudden you have perfect timing, and you can do that for your bass line as well, and any of the keyboardy instruments that you play on GarageBand. And finally, one last tip I'd like to give you guys to help your song sound absolutely awesome is to use the little used FX button. There's one typical Boy With Uke sound that I feel like he uses a lot. It's that tape stop sound. Now by that I mean, at the end of a line, it goes... Now that's just this stop button here on the effects. Have a listen and you'll know exactly what I mean. If you get the timing just right, it just sounds really cool. And then when the song starts up, it's all the more exciting for it. Okay, so that is my deep dive. I would like you to be the first to hear my song written in the style of Boy With Uke.
Yourself as shy. Just ask her what's the time. Start with an observation. Make a little joke. From there you can transition into high and Joe. But if it all seems like too much and you don't feel so swole, just send her a text all in lowercase. It just says hello. Hello. Hey, low. Hey. Hello. Low. Hello. Hey, low. Hey, hello. 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 You make me feel lots of pain I never felt before. Just like when I slam my pinky finger in the car door. Like a paper cut and someone poured on salt and vinegar. And on top of that, the previously aforementioned little finger. Being done by you just made me feel like half a guy, but not the kind of guy that was born on the 9th of July. The only thing that I was ever good at was making up rhymes. But now I'm scared that even that will be taken over by AI. I need to find something else for me to do, but whatever it is I do, I can do because I'm thinking of you. Need to show I'm a good guy, how to signal I hurt you. Cause even though you ripped my heart out, no I've ever hurt you. I thought I was adorkable, you thought I was janky. It wasn't neat but kind of something I couldn't find a front door key. Didn't want to be prone, had to find myself a new look, and that's how I became the artist known as Boy With Uke.
If you guys love the look and sound of this ukulele, just click on carlabrand.com/uketeacher and you'll get 10% off anything on their website. If you would like a song sheet for this Boy With Uke style song that I've written, sign up today to patreon.com/uketeacher. I've been the ukulele teacher, and until next time, I love you all and I wish you the best.